Hello, colleagues. This is Mary Jordan in the library and CTL. And today we're just going to do a quick look at some resources you might use to help yourself create some engaging content for class. Look, if teaching was easy, everyone would be doing it, right? It's hard. It's hard to be good at your job. It's hard to be good when you're in your first semester. It's hard to be good when you're in like your 15th semester and you're teaching the same classes and it gets kind of frustrating. And why don't the students know it as well as you do? It's frustrating. But there's always solutions. There are always people who are going to have ideas. So let's look at some ideas. All right, I'm sharing my screen here, obviously. On the information below this video, I will have all of these links so you can easily get a look at them. So this is from the Indiana Society of Association Executives. It's not exactly like being in the college classroom, but I thought some of these were kind of interesting, especially if you're doing shorter presentations. And that idea of design the course logically. I have worked with people and over my couple of decades that I've been chatting with people about creating classes who were really surprised by the fact that you need to start at the beginning and kind of work your way through to the end. And in some classes, of course, I mean, our automotive classes, I'm guessing you start with the beginning and by the end, you've built an engine. This is why I don't teach that. But in other classes, maybe it's not as obvious. So just know there is a flow, have a flow, and put your material together. Make it awesome, make it interactive, get feedback. There you go, done. This next one is Edutopia. I like their resources. You can sign up for their newsletter if you'd like. 8 evidence-based tips to make your lectures more engaging and memorable. I've probably said 15,000 times, lectures are boring. You know lectures are boring. I know lectures are boring. I gotta be honest, I've seen all of us go to things like in service or presentations. Well, I've seen us all not go to those things, and I've seen people get bored, talk, read your email, text on your phone, space out and ignore what's happening. I've seen us do that, and we're supposed to be the ones who care, but it's hard. I'm pointing my finger right at me. I've seen me do this. I've seen me be a bad student in the audience. Lectures are not always going to be the best idea, but sometimes you do need to lecture. So this I'm not going to scroll through this whole article. You're good readers, but it does have some good ideas, some things that I thought were useful, and some tips that I'm going to try and incorporate for myself. All right, this one looks at online classes. Of course, so many of us teach wholly online classes or classes that are at least partially online. All of your classes should be at least, I mean, there should be online content available. And again, think about making things engaging. What does that mean? And I don't know, some of this, I am not a terribly like warm and fuzzy person. I mean, I taught management for a long time. It does not lend itself to charming creativity, maybe, but I like these ideas. I mean, I like the idea of bringing more storytelling, and maybe it's difficult to tell a story about how you work on sewing up injuries in the EMT classes and in the nursing classes. But I don't know, maybe it's not. I did this actually because I was a library director and then I taught library management. And I was actually able to bring in a lot of, you wouldn't believe when this happened. The day the toilets flooded. The day the mayor came and stole the Joy of Sex book out of my library. You know, it's good to have those. It's good to have disasters that you can talk about, and maybe you have triumphs and excitement that you can talk about. But that could be helpful. So think about how you make your class. I don't know. I don't want to say creative, but be a little bit more creative, maybe in the way that you do talk about it. An idea of diverse content, that kind of thing matters. So I've taught to my students in Massachusetts, in Boston, at fancy private school. And when I talked about teamwork one day, and I had slides about NASCAR. And I was like, okay, so now this is this team, and this is how they work together, and this is how it looks solo, but it's actually a team sport. And they were just glazed. It was maybe a poor choice on my part, but on the other hand, I don't know. I think it was important for them to get a little bit of knowledge about how NASCAR works because when our, I don't know, boring library students in Boston, Massachusetts going to hear about NASCAR? Not often. It happened in my class, and that may have been the only time. But that's important because maybe when they get out into the profession and they are librarians, they're going to need to know. Somebody's going to come ask them a question. They're going to need resources. They're going to need books. And just maybe that one little thing that I said was going to stick with them enough that they'll be better at their job. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make our students better when they leave us. I'm pointing out into the world. They will be better when they leave us if you bring a little bit of diverse content in. So don't keep saying the same things over and over again. It's boring. 10 tips here, and I'm not familiar with this site, but I don't know, it's kind of cool. 10 tips to make your classes more engaging. And some of this that they talked about is, and this happens, I think, in a lot of teaching material, they talk about K through 12 in some of these answers, but I mean, teaching is kind of teaching. It doesn't really matter. So that idea of asking questions, yeah. Um, and I know it's difficult because I would try to ask questions and I would tend to get the same like four people over and over and over and over again. And I don't care. Stop raising your hands. Like give somebody else a chance. And just saying that was often enough. Um, and I love this one, that idea of get students to present it themselves. I mean, it's a cliche, but it's a true cliche. You learn best when you have to teach things. You know your subject so much better now than you ever did because you have had to put it together and teach it. Give your students that opportunity. I would, some of my classes, I would do this every week. People would sign up to give like a 5-minute presentation or even shorter, but 5 minutes. It's hard to say anything in less than 5 minutes. They would present something about the lecture material or they would present or lecture or do a game or whatever. And I tried to be real free with what they did because I mean, how far wrong could they go? I mean, they're not going to damage the other students. The other students will be fine, but it gives everybody a chance to kind of think about it. And if everybody's doing it, then they can all kind of look at each other and say, well, that didn't go very well. I'm going to make sure I'm better than that. Or, boy, that was a lot to live up to. It's helpful. I didn't do this all the time, but I did it sometimes. And I feel like it was helpful. So multimedia, of course, neat, great. And I'm just going to show you this because it has one of my favorite web comics, XKCD. You should definitely open these things online, not in the article, off on your browser. Hover over them for the alt text, and it'll just be funny. And even if you think you don't like science, there you go. You will. I'm your librarian. I love when people come to the library. So I'm really trying to incorporate more library material into every single thing that I do so everybody understands everything that we have here for you. This is an incredibly boring, silly search. So I did engaging, college class. Note the little asterisk there at the end. That way it does class, classes, classing, classify. I don't know. Anything that starts with CLASS and anything else will turn up when you put the little asterisks at the end. Again, it's teaches, teaching. Um, I don't know. My words fail me, but if there are other words, the computer will know them. All right, so that was my search. I have 4,826 results. I mean, that's a foolish number of things. I'll never look at that. You can scroll over here and tell yourself, "Ugh, I only want articles. There's no possibility I'm going to read a book." Or, I only want books. There's no possibility I'm going to read a boring article. Maybe you like conference proceedings, dissertations. If you enjoy reading dissertations, I want to speak to you because I'm concerned. Web resources, videos. Honestly, I never find that we get good results on that in our catalog, but if you need those things, you should come talk to me. We do have the occasional patents in there. It depends what topic you're looking at. Every so often, interesting things will turn up. So I can say I just want books. Great, down to 619. And now I can also go to the subject. Everything in this pile of results has keywords attached to it. And look at that, they're counted up right over here. So I'm only interested in education. Education is done, especially higher education, it's done really differently in different countries. So I'm only interested in the United States, study and teaching, teaching. I don't care about any of these. So universities and colleges, I like that. I don't care about any of this. Multicultural education, it's always right. It's always the right answer. All right, I'm done. I'm applying my filters. You check whatever you want to what makes you happy. All right, I have 405 results. I'm not going to read 405 things, but I am going to look at the first 50. So choose that 50, and then you just start scrolling down here, and everything that I chose is a book, and you can see right up there that it's a book. I like to look through books. I like to get a feel for what they are. Uh, yeah, I don't know. Some of this might be fun. Um, wow. Yeah, we have a lot of students who are minority, first generation, and academically unprepared. I know I see them in the library all the time. This is from 2018, so yeah, not too old. I'm going to click here on EBSCO. The EBSCO magic is happening. So as I scroll down, you can see all these different keywords here. So I get really excited. I'm like, oh, first gen college students, United States. Yeah, love it. I would definitely like more about that. I'm right clicking my mouse, opening a new link. It's not really helping right now. I would use that to search. Okay, if I wanted to look at other things, but I just want to look at this book. So I scrolled down that page to my table of contents. Thinking about retention. I mean, I'm always going to be interested in that, but right now I'm creating engaging content. So, reading assignments and class discussions, writing assignments, resilience. If we could do more to teach that. Interactive lectures. I'm just going to click on just that chapter because, again, I'm not reading this whole book. What do I look like? Like I got time for that? I do not have time for that. I can scroll through just this chapter. I can get excited. I could email just this chapter to myself. I clicked email pages, and this section I can put in your school mail, or if you want to put in your Gmail, whatever makes you happy. And I'm going to email this PDF to myself. Bing. The bing is my own sound effect. You're welcome for that. All right, so it was sent to me, and now I have this material with me. It's kind of handy. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention. Yeah, detailed citation, ta-da, APA style, because I like APA in my profession. We use a lot of APA style. You use whatever your profession makes you happy. You can see we have Chicago, there's MLA. Just it's nice to have the citation right there. I'm going to email it to myself again. Bing. There we go. Now that I emailed it to myself, I've got the PDF of this chapter, plus I've got the APA citation. In case I ever want to use this someplace, it's just sitting in my email. It's not lost. It's there. It's fine. Um, if you do find something, and I talk about this a lot when I'm talking to classes, if you do find something in our catalog that you like, I would email it to myself because it's a different discussion for a different day, but the vendors, you cannot necessarily trust them to keep that stuff there. So I love that. It was perfect. It's exactly what I wanted, but it could be gone an hour from now. So by emailing it to myself, I know that I have it for later. All right. quick look at engaging content. Like I said, all of that material I'm going to have linked down here below. Check for it. But if you want to talk about more ideas, or you want me to find some other material for you specifically for your class, I could probably find some other lecture notes and materials that people who teach what you teach have put online. So yeah, talk to me. Let me see what I can do for you. I'm here to help you. I'm your librarian. All right. Have a good day. Bye-bye.